Welcome back to Unfolding Between Seasons podcast. This segment is called Transitioning from Divorce Back to Dating. This is episode 1, Your Fruit Will Show. This series is really personal for me because I'm not coming to you as a woman who has figured out dating perfectly. I'm coming to you as a woman who has lived it, made mistakes in it, learned from it, and allowed God to use the process to show me parts of myself that I didn't realize were still there. And today I want to talk to you about something I learned when I started dating again. You can feel fully healed while maneuvering singleness, but the unhealed or unhealthy traits you haven't fully detoxed from or surrendered will begin to pop up as you engage in courtship. Because I thought I was doing great. I spent a lot of time alone. I had grown, I had matured, I had established myself, I had learned who I was outside of a relationship. And then I started dating. And suddenly I started seeing parts of me operating from fear, rejection, abandonment, shame, doubt, and unworthiness. And I thought, wait a minute. Where did you come from? Because singleness can give you a very interesting picture of yourself. You can be affectionate while single. You can be beautiful while single. You can be caring, kind, loving, humorous, patient, self controlled. And you can look at your life and say, I am good. I've done the work. But what happens when you start dating and someone begins to challenge your kindness? What happens when someone challenges your patience? What happens when someone sees something about you that you don't see about yourself? Because that's when the fruit starts talking. And everyone loves to say you'll know them by their fruit. But what if your fruit is looking a little bruised? What if God is using dating not just to reveal their fruit to you, but to reveal yours? That's what this episode is really about. And I want to make something clear before I go any further. I'm not here to teach you how to date. I'm sharing with you how to be whole in singleness and become wholer in dating. Because you can be mature and not know how to date. You can be established and not know how to date. You can come out of a 10, 15, 20-year relationship and still not know how to date. Dating is its own experience. And for me, getting back into it after divorce exposed things I didn't know I needed to address. So I'm going to share some of my mistakes and the takeaways I believe could help another woman. And today we're starting with one of mine. I often laughed at the wrong time. Now, anyone who knows me knows I'm naturally a laughing person. I smile a lot, I laugh a lot. I'm usually bouncing back. If something embarrassing happens, I'm probably going to laugh. If I mess up, I'm probably going to laugh. And I've always been that way. But what I didn't realize was that laughter had also become a defense mechanism for me. It was something I adapted from a young age. Sometimes you laugh because something is funny, but sometimes you laugh because you're uncomfortable. Sometimes you laugh because you're embarrassed. Sometimes you laugh because you don't know what else to do. Sometimes you laugh because you don't want to sit in the heaviness of what's happening. And when I started dating again, I got called out for laughing in serious situations and I didn't understand it. I actually had multiple conversations about it before it clicked. Because in my mind, I was thinking, it's just my thing. I don't mean any harm by it. And that's what's important because sometimes we explain our intentions that we don't stop to consider the impact. I wasn't trying to make anyone feel insignificant. I wasn't trying to make anybody feel like a joke. I wasn't trying to disrespect anybody. But the person I was dating told me that my laughter in serious moments made them feel like I wasn't taking them serious. And that hit differently because I knew I wasn't laughing at him. But he was telling me how my behavior was making him feel, and I had a choice. I could say, well, that's just who I am. If you can't handle it, that's your problem. Or I could pause and say, okay, what is this showing me about me? And that was the uncomfortable part because I had to realize that saying, this is just who I am, wasn't entirely true. Yes, I'm naturally joyful. Yes, I'm naturally playful. Yes, I love to laugh. But if something I've adapted is hurting communication or making someone feel dismissed, I have to be willing to examine it. That's not losing myself, that's growth. And no, I'm not saying you compromise every part of yourself to keep someone. There are things I'm not compromising on. For example, I'm probably not going to compromise on my wigs. Okay. I love my wigs. But there are things that are preferences, personality traits, habits, and defense mechanisms that God may actually be asking you to outgrow. And this is where dating became very interesting for me because I sat with this person. I listened to their perspective. I asked them why it was such a big deal when I knew internally that I wasn't taking a situation as a joke. And they explained it. They said it made them feel insignificant. They felt like they weren't being taken serious. And here I am thinking, I'm not joking about you. But he was essentially saying, I feel like a joke. And that was sobering. Sometimes our intentions don't cancel out someone else's experience. And I'm not saying everyone who is offended by something you do is automatically right. Please hear me. This isn't about allowing someone to control or manipulate you into becoming someone you're not. It's about consideration. And I believe consideration is the highest form of respect in any relationship. You can say that's not what I meant, but maturity also allows you to say, I understand that's not what I meant, but I can understand why it landed that way. That was a lesson for me. So, takeaway number one is as you're examining the person you're dating, make sure you're examining yourself. We are so quick to look at someone else's fruit. They're avoidant, they're inconsistent, they don't communicate, they're emotionally unavailable, they have commitment issues, and maybe they do. But while you're looking at their fruit, what is God showing you about yours? Because Jesus talked about taking the speck out of someone else's eye, but first looking at the plank in your own. And I love to use this example. I've never walked away from someone who was fixing their shirt without checking to see if my shirt was fixed too. Because how am I going to spend all my energy telling you to fix your shirt while mine is halfway out? And I think dating gives us a beautiful opportunity to do exactly that, to look inward. Because singleness can allow you to overlook certain things. You can go about your day without realizing how you respond to conflict. You can avoid certain triggers. You can laugh something off. You can shut down. You can disappear. You can control the environment around you. But when another person enters your life, suddenly our patterns have somewhere to show up. And that doesn't necessarily mean the person is your spouse. That's important as well. Sometimes we think God sent this person to expose this in me, so they must be my husband. They must be my wife. No, God could use any relationship to reveal something about you. The lesson doesn't always mean the person is the destination. Sometimes they're a part of the process. And I believe God uses everything we do and everything we go through as an opportunity to prune us, to heal us, to mature us, and prepare us. So being told you don't have to laugh in every serious situation showed me something deeper. It showed me an unhealthy defense mechanism that I had outgrown. It forced me to learn how to communicate differently. It forced me to become more uncomfortable sitting in uncomfortable moments. It forced me to consider that embarrassment does not always need to be taken as a joke. Discomfort doesn't always need laughter, and seriousness doesn't mean I have to lose my joy. It just means I have to learn when and how to express it. And that to me is a part of becoming whole-er. Not perfect, not flawless, not completely healed in every area, but more aware, more surrendered, more willing to let God correct me, more willing to say, Lord, if there's something in me that needs to change, show me. And that's a dangerous prayer when you actually mean it, because God will show you. Sometimes through his word, sometimes through conviction, sometimes through circumstances, and sometimes through the person you're dating saying, this thing you're doing is affecting me. And now you have a decision to make. Will you become defensive? Will you become discerning? Or will you immediately say, that's just who I am? Asking this question, is this actually who I am, or is this something I've learned to do, is very important because they're two very different questions. As a Christian woman, I believe dating should be more than finding someone who checks our boxes. It should also be an opportunity to allow God to continue preparing us because we're asking God for a kingdom partner. We are allowing him to prepare us to be a kingdom partner. We're praying for someone patient. Are we becoming more patient? We're praying for someone who communicates. Are we learning how to communicate? We're praying for someone who makes us feel safe. Are we dealing with the ways fear causes us to sabotage our safety? We're praying for someone who knows how to love us. Are we asking God to teach us how to receive love without suspicion, fear, or self-protection? That's the deep work. And I have 5 more things that came up for me as I transitioned from divorce back to dating that I believe are worth talking about. Because this one experience opened the door to so much more self-reflection. So if you're a woman or a man who is dating again after a divorce or after a breakup, if you're coming out of a long-term relationship, and if you've just been single for years and are considering dating, I want you to stay connected to this series because I'm not here to give you a formula on getting a man or a woman. I'm sharing my mistakes, the lessons, the uncomfortable realizations, and the growth that came from trying to date again. while allowing God to remain the center. Because maybe the goal isn't simply just to become someone's wife or husband. Maybe the goal is to become the woman, the person God is calling you to be before, during, and after the relationship. So I'll leave this with you. As you're looking at their fruit, look at yours. Ask God, what are you trying to show me about me? And don't be afraid of what he reveals, because God reveals things that can heal you. What he exposes, he can transform. And what he asks you to surrender, he can replace with something healthier. So tell me, what defense mechanism showed up for you when you started dating again? Did you shut down? Did you over explain? Did you people please? Did you withdraw? Or did you laugh like me? I want to know. This is transitioning from divorce back to dating as a Christian woman. And we're not just talking about finding someone, we're talking about becoming whole and being wholer along the way. So until next time, thank you for joining. This is Kitty Condell. Ciao for now.